Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting of May 4th. Before we actually get started, I'm going to ask that everybody mute their computers unless you are talking. That way, we don't hear the feedback from the noises in the background or the different things that can cause problems. And I thank you for your participation in that. If everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As chair of the Goffstown Zoning Board, due to the COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with the Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, is that somebody's phone?
No.
Or computer?
Dog, child.
Yeah, it sounds like a child. Okay. This board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The ZBA is utilizing the Microsoft Teams platform for this electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, to participate in the meeting by dialing the following number: 603-766-5646. Again, that's 603-766-5646. And you will use the participant code 785645 followed by the pound sign. We are providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using the available telephone number with the posted agenda. We are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-660-5000.
Gail?
Yeah.
Gail, I'm sorry, excuse me. Nancy, the agenda that was posted has the new phone number
Oh, okay.
because that old phone number was not working.
Okay. So it's 488-6783?
Yes.
Okay, so I stand corrected. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-488-6783. And we will adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. And then we will reschedule it for another time. All the votes that are taken during this meeting tonight are going to be done by roll call vote. So when each member states their presence, those connected whether it be by Microsoft Teams or telephonically, are please asked to state whether there's anyone in the room with them, because that is a requirement of the right to know law. So we will do a roll call vote, and I will start with Alan Yeaton.
Present. No one's in the room with me?
Thank you. Denise?
Present, no one's in the room with me, but
What? Can't hear.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, Denise
Your hand
Langley.
is, okay.
Yes, my hand is up because I wanted to make sure that anybody, if they cannot hear or are having a problem, to actually do this, because we had some issues last month and we had to rehear cases. So do
Yes.
whatever you have to do to notify the chair.
Please. Okay, and Jason?
Jason Cody, alternate member, and I am alone in the room. And
Okay.
just to add, if you're not speaking, can you please make sure that you mute?
Okay, thank you. And Nancy? Nancy? Are you there?
Yep, sorry, I muted myself.
Okay.
Sorry.
You want to identify yourself for the,
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm multitasking here. Nancy Larson, Zoning Code Enforcement Officer.
thank you. And I'm Gail Lebrecq. I'm the chairman of the board, and I am also here alone. One more little bit of business, and that is a little bit about the zoning board. We are an elected board of 5 members and up to 5 appointed alternates. Currently, the board has 5 elected members and 1 alternate. So if anybody is interested in serving on the ZBA, you could see Nancy Larson or contact her at Town Hall for more information. The board has a posted agenda for each meeting, and we tend to follow the items in order. The board will open the public hearing on an application and hear from the applicants and abutters and affected parties, and we'll ask questions about it. The public hearing will be closed, and the board will enter into a deliberative session to discuss the application. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a later meeting. You're welcome to watch the deliberations this evening, or you can contact Nancy Larson at Town Hall to get the results.
Your participant or moderator code.
For an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. An applicant can request a continuance if there's not a full 5-member board to act on an application.
Your participant or moderator code followed by the pound key.
Hold on, please. We'll get that noise done with, I hope. If you are aggrieved by a decision by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to Superior Court. But before appealing to Superior Court, you must first request a rehearing before this board to preserve that right to appeal. And those rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision, and they must state all the reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable. Failure to request a rehearing.
That conference code is not scheduled for this time.
Thank you for calling.
Hello, this is
First Light
Nancy.
Conference Direct Service. We're glad you're here. Please enter your participant or moderator code.
Yeah, I
followed
just
by the
noticed that.
pound
I'm
key.
trying to bring it back up again, so I'm going to let the chair know. So,
What's up, Nancy?
yeah, okay, just bear with me. Let me get back online here and let the chair know, okay? So, yeah, just, if you can't get in, just call this number back again, okay? Not yet. I
I'm
need
sorry,
to
that conference
log
code is not
on.
scheduled for
It's
this
a little
time.
bit of a process, so I need to log on to their website and then dial it up on the phone. Okay? Okay, all right. Oh, okay, all right, I'll put you on hold. Hold on a second. And Linda Lavasser, correct? Yes, that's. Oh, okay. All right, Elise. Okay, hold on. It was another number. Hold on.
Nancy, you know you're not muted?
Yes, I do. And there are, for some reason, First Light kicked everybody out, including me. So, and now the phone is ringing off the hook. So I'm going to need a couple of minutes to go back on their website and log back in and then dial the phone back up. So if everybody who's out there can hang on for a minute, I'm going to mute myself so I can grab these phone calls.
Okay, and we're not going to go forward with the meeting because these people can't participate. So we'll hold on. We'll pause the
Yeah,
meeting.
just let me, I'm going to mute myself while I take care of this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, are we allowed to go over the minutes?
We shouldn't do anything if there's
Okay.
members of the public that can't sign in. I wish we could.
All right, it looks like Len is on through the conference first.
Okay.
Len, can you hear me? Okay, hold on.
Gail, while we're waiting, is my name showing up right under my picture? Because I had somebody else using my computer.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Alan, your hand is raised. Did you have something you wanted to comment?
Yes. We seem to have Sharon DeRocher is not on mute. And so she keeps flashing like she's trying to send something.
Sharon,
Yeah, I'm
are you trying-
looking.
are you trying to send something? Are you trying to mute?
No, I'm just sitting here. I don't know why it's flashing.
Okay.
You have to go to the little heading there and you have to physically click on mute the mic.
Where the little microphone symbol is.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it.
Keep that off
Okay.
until it's your turn.
Okay, you need to turn that off because you're back feeding everybody.
Okay, so then how do I know when will be my turn?
You'll hear. You'll still
You'll
hear.
be asked because you can raise your hand in that same title block. Down there.
Gotcha.
You see a little hand?
Yeah,
Raise your hand.
okay, perfect.
Hit that little icon and the little hand will show up like it's under my name right now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alan. And you
Yep.
should put your hand down now.
Oh, it's tired.
Gail, I'm going to try to reach IT. Every time I try to put the PIN in for this meeting, it is rejecting it. So I'm going to call IT. Somebody is supposed to be kind of waiting in the wings in case we have any technical problems. So, and can you just make sure, Dara, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm sure you have something posted on television. You're always very good about that with technical difficulties, and we'll resume as soon as possible. So I'm going to go try to call IT, okay? I'll be right back. You're welcome.
Hi, Daryl. You got something up there? Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Daryl.
Thank you, everybody. This is Gail Lebrecht, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Thank you for bearing with us during some technical difficulties. We are going to go forward with the meeting now, and we are going to start with a motion regarding, or motion or discussion correction regarding the minutes to the Zoning Board meeting of April 6th. Do I have a motion or a correction?
Gail,
Uh-huh.
page 2.
Yeah.
Towards the bottom, Tanya Goslin says she didn't build that. It was there when she built the house. No, she bought the house. She did not build the house.
Okay.
That
Thank
was
you.
it.
That's it? Okay. Denise?
Page 17. Under correspondence, Len Stewart made a motion. I abstained. And 2 paragraphs later, where it says here, Len Stewart, no. Jason Cody, yes. Alan Yeaton and Denise Langley, no. That is incorrect. I believe Alan would have been a yes. He made the motion.
Okay. Anything else? Jason, your hand is up. Do you have a correction?
Yes, on page 8,
Uh-huh.
the second paragraph for the bottom, I voted no.
Okay. Thank you. Any others? We have a motion with those changes.
So moved.
Thank you, Jason.
Second.
Alan, thank you. And we'll do a roll call vote. Alan,
Yes?
Denise,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
and Gail says yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we are on to our first application of the evening. Brian E. Nawaj, owner applicant seeking a variance to convert an existing 4-family building into a 5-family building, making an existing non-conforming structure more non-conforming due to maximum density allowance for multifamily dwellings in the residential 1 district. This concerns section 4.3, table of dimensional regulations of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 16 East Union Street, map 34, lot 17, zoned residential 1. This was continued from the April 6th zoning board meeting. And I will entertain a motion regarding regional impact, please.
I'll move no regional impact.
I second.
Thank you. And we'll do a roll call vote. Alan? Alan?
I've seconded motion.
No, this is the regional impact. Denise seconded it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm taking a vote.
Yes.
Okay. Denise?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Len?
Yes.
And Gail, yes. Motion carries. Okay, is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, I am.
Ah, there you are. Okay, did I massacre your name too badly? I hope not.
I'm kind of used to it, but yeah, it's pronounced Norway.
Oh, I never would have guessed.
You
Okay,
never
thank
would have got it, no.
Okay, what do you want to tell us about your application?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm asking for a variance to return to service an existing 2-bedroom apartment that would increase the units in the building from 4 to 5. This particular apartment, I had to take out of service in 2010 because of a denial of a request for variance to add the fifth unit to the building. So what I did then was I opted to take this 3rd floor existing apartment out of service, and I occupied the new 2-bedroom addition. So the 3rd floor unit's been unused since then and is not configured nor suitable for storage. The building in question is a large 4-unit non-conforming building of record with more than 5,000 square feet of living space, and it as well is situated on a non-conforming lot of record. It's located in and near neighborhoods that consist of mostly multifamilies, and it is close to 2 5-unit buildings, and some nearby buildings along Main Street in the neighborhood have as many as 7 or 8 units. So it seems to me that it wouldn't be inconsistent with the neighborhood to add this 5th unit to the building. The 5th unit I want to add, like I said, it's existing. It's a 2-bedroom. And it was added as a 4th unit in 1977 using a 3rd floor attic space. At the time, it was permitted by the town and no board action was required. I'd like to add a little history I think is relevant to this matter. In 2003, I went before the board to expand 10 East Union from a 3-unit building to a 5-unit building using an attached barn, and it's the house next to 16 East Union, lot number 34-18. So this particular building was also a large non-conforming building of record on a non-conforming lot of record, very similar to 16 East Union. It as well didn't meet the density calculation requirements nor the footage requirements for additional unit. It's 0.6 acres and has 171 feet of frontage. However, after working with both planning and zoning boards at the time, the addition of the 2 units was approved unanimously, and both boards commented that it was consistent with the character of the neighborhood, it fit within the corridor study, was consistent with the master plan, and as well was consistent with other applications they had recently approved in the village. So like I said, at this time, the variance was unanimously approved, and the only issue is parking issues, which I resolved to the satisfaction of the planning office. At that time, there was no mention of hardship or nonconformity. It didn't seem to be an issue and was not mentioned by either planning or zoning. So when I went before the board that denied my variance in 2010, I was expecting a similarly unanimous approval to add the 5th unit. I mean, no changes had been made in respect to density zoning or planning, and the master plan and character of the neighborhood was basically unchanged or was the same. So I was pretty sure that it would be approved. It was identical to the 10 East Union proposal in terms of lot size, frontage, and density calculation. So I was pretty confident, and I had earlier developed a plan for the replacement of the garage attached with a new 2-bedroom apartment while we had to replace the brick foundation under the main house. So to gain access under the house, we had to take down the garage to excavate and pour the foundation. So while doing that, it only made sense to go ahead and pour the foundation for the addition. And at the same time, since the gable end of the house was wide open, to also frame in the shell of the addition. So at the time I talked to Derek, who was the zoning, in the zoning office, as well as Mark Tessier, he was the building inspector and still is. And they both advised me that they could only issue me a permit for storage because I had to go before the zoning board to get a variance. So without any intention of adding or wanting storage, I opted for that permit and closed in the building according to the plans I had, which were a 2-bedroom apartment. I was confident the board would look favorably on my request for variance, and it never occurred to me that it would be denied. So at the time, I think I didn't realize that the actions I was taking would be frowned upon by the board. It didn't occur to me that what I was doing would create an impression that I was trying to get around circumventing the process, or that I was building first and then asking for permission. It never crossed my mind I wouldn't be allowed to add the 5th unit, since my earlier experience was one of unanimous approval. So when I went before the board, my mindset was that I would for sure get approved, and I spent a little time providing details or explaining my actions. I did not at the time realize that I was creating a negative impression to the board and that I had in the past, and was again trying to manipulate the process. So it was very surprising to me how negatively the board reviewed it and received it, and that it was unanimously denied. So my intentions were not to circumvent the process or to get one over on the board. It was not my intention to add storage, and I wasn't trying to work the system, and I always intended to complete the 2-bedroom apartment. So I opted for the storage permit since it seemed logical to close on the building according to my plans, and that was winter was coming soon, and I couldn't leave the building open. So my logic, I think, was, it was logical, but I think the board, didn't see that favorably. So when the variance was denied, I opted to occupy the new addition where I currently reside. But it's curious how two boards essentially looking at the same proposal on a building next door, subject to the same restrictions, resulted in opposite decisions. Why would that be the case? So I think in large part it was basically my whole approach to the process came across as being underhanded, and I kind of regretted that at the time. I realized in large part it was due to the actions I took, and I left them unexplained. So I'm back here again, looking to restore that apartment to service. It's existing. It wouldn't involve any changes to the layout of the building. I could add parking to adequately provide spaces. And it seems overall to me that it'd be a positive thing. I can't see how it would affect abutters or traffic or in any way be a negative for the neighborhood or the village. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much where I'm coming from on this.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions of the applicant? Glenn, do you?
Not at the moment.
Denise?
Not at this time.
Alan?
My question would be, does the property owner intend to add parking to his parking lot that's on the side of the building?
I'm going to add 3 spaces closer to the street in the lawn area.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Jason? Do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Well, you want me to read my responses to the 5 criteria for the application?
Yes, I do. That would be my question of you.
That's the only thing I have to add.
We need to have that in the record.
Okay. All right. Would the variance be contrary to the public interest? Granting the variance would not unduly and to a marked degree alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood or threaten the public health, safety, or welfare. The proposed usage would not require any alterations to the building nor alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Is the variance consistent with the spirit of the ordinance? Per the Supreme Court, the spirit of the ordinance and contrary to the public interest are related. Therefore, as described above, granting the variance would not unduly and to a marked degree alter the essential character of the neighborhood or threaten the public health, safety, or welfare. The building would not be changed in any way. Substantial justice. We believe the denial of this variance would not result in a gain to the general public, but only a loss to the applicant. And the variance will allow for the usage of existing living space and provides an additional apartment to the village area. Value of surrounding properties are not diminished. The proposal does not involve any changes to the existing building and will have no impact on neighborhood property values. Literal enforcement of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public, purposes of the ordinance provision, and the specific application of that provision to the property. Denial of the variance would not allow the applicant to reasonably use living space in the property, creating an unnecessary hardship. Yet there would be no advancement of the purpose of the ordinance provision in any fair and substantial way with that denial. And the proposed use is a reasonable one. The addition of this dwelling unit will not alter the character of the neighborhood and is a reasonable use for this multifamily neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. I want to make sure that it's on the record that the planning board comment when they reviewed this application was that the zoning board considered the variance factors and recommendations set out in the master plan when making a decision on whether this density is appropriate in the residential area. That was the planning board's comment.
Gail, how do you interpret that?
How do I interpret that? Well, they're trying, they don't want to tell us what to do or how to vote, but they did just recently revise the master plan, and they want us to consider the density of the lot because it's a small lot with that's already not meeting the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
But if you have a multifamily, you're allowed 12 units per acre. So this is about a half an acre. So you'd be allowed 6 on this site. Is that true?
No.
No.
Does
3 dwelling units per acre is what it allows.
Is that because of the zone it's in?
Correct.
So what zone is it in?
Residential 1.
Okay. And that's 3 units per acre?
Yeah, so,
Is that in the table someplace?
yes, and it's summarized, Alan, on the first page of my staff report. It says,
I can read.
okay, you're asking.
I think, Gail, even taking the planning board's comments into consideration, when you look at the fact that this is already a significantly dense multifamily neighborhood, the addition of 1 unit in that building isn't going to be anything that is going to significantly alter anything about the neighborhood that surrounds it. I, for one, don't see problems with it.
Neither do I, Len.
Okay. Denise?
I am sorry, I had my GIS map out and lost it, but it looked like the only, right around that building, the 10 Union is a multifamily, and then the other abutting houses are single family. So I don't understand how we can say that it's high density dwellings around that building when it's only on one side, from what I saw, and I just can't get it back up.
Denise?
Yes.
On the 3rd page of my staff report, I pasted the GIS map with the zoning layer, and then I labeled all the parcels and how many units exist on each parcel based upon the assessing database.
Thank you for
Just
making
so
that
you
life
have a
easy.
comparison.
The most I see are 4 family units. A lot of 1 family and a 2 family, couple of 2 families.
I thought I saw a 3-family or 2 also within about a 1-block radius.
Oh, yeah, there is at the, going around the curve, there's a 3-family. But there's still, I would say there's still mostly 1 and 2 family. Jason? Your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm looking, Nancy, I'm looking at your staff report, and I apologize because I'm still new at this, but are you talking about the second page from the back
For what?
for the units on each? I think
It's
you
page
just
3
said.
of, page 3 of 4 of my staff report. It's in
Page
color.
5.
On my staff report, it's page 3 of 4, but if you look at Patty's hand noted page numbers, bottom right-hand side, you'll see a number 5 with a circle around it. But if you just follow the page numbers on my actual staff report.
I got it. I was looking at the application from the last zoning board meeting. Sorry,
Okay.
it's been a long night so far.
Yes, it has.
And we're not done yet.
Yeah. Well, my thought is that just because it's already 4 units, which is beyond what is allowed for that zone, I don't think we have to give it, that's not a justification to increase it and make it even more non-conforming than what it already is. It's three dwelling units per acre. And this lot is just under a half of an acre. And so with 4 dwelling units, it would require 58,080 square feet of buildable area. And adding 1 more unit requires a total lot size of 72,600 square feet. So we're making it more non-conforming than it already is. And one of the tasks in the zoning ordinance is that with a non-conforming lot, we're not supposed to make it more non-conforming, but less. Jason? Your hand is up and you're muted.
Yeah, it's because I forgot to put it down. Sorry about that.
Okay, Alan?
Well, just as an added thought, we approved by variance 100 units on the mill site that is yet to be built, which is right next door. That's 100 units without considering what they're going to do in the old mill.
Each application is determined on its own merits. That's all I can say about that.
Excuse me.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the neighborhood is mostly multifamily greater than 2 units. It's not mostly 1 and 2. I think there's only 1 single family unit in that neighborhood. 10 East Union is 5, 15 East Union is 4, 17 East Union is 2, and 16 East Union is 4. I mean, I did by mistake. 10 East Union is 5. I own that property as well. The building next to 10 East Union, it's a Lamson apartment. I think that's 5 or 6. The 2 units across the street of Main Street, I think, are 7 and 8. And they're all zoned R1 as well. So I mean, I converted 10 East Union from 3 to 5 10 years ago or so, or more. And it was approved unanimously under the same restrictions that apply to my request for this variance. So I don't get it. I mean,
Different
it
board
doesn't make
members,
sense to me.
different board members may have different opinions on their
Well,
interpretation.
right, but I mean, you know,
So-
and what's the downside? The apartment is there. I mean, if it was occupied now, nobody in the neighborhood would even know any different. I mean, it's, all I have to do is add 3 parking spaces and I'm good to go. I mean, talk about unnecessary hardship. It's totally unnecessary to deny the request for a variance based on what? What's the negative? I don't get it.
The negative is that your lot is already, or your use is already non-conforming, and the zoning ordinance requires the zoning board to not make something more non-conforming.
But it's a non-conforming lot of record before the criteria was instituted. I don't know when that density calculation was put in place. It was conforming. There was no non-conformity. It's just a matter of.
I understand that, but now that they are in place, that doesn't mean you can continue to make it more and more non-conforming.
No, but technically it's conforming. It's non-conforming lot of record. So that means it's never non-conforming.
It is a non-conforming, it is a legal non-conforming lot because you got the permits for it. I understand that part. But in my opinion, by making it more non-conforming to what the requirements of the zoning ordinance are, I don't consider that reasonable.
Can we open this to a public hearing?
In a minute, Denise, she's got her hand up.
And she's muted.
You're muted, Denise.
The mill is in a different district. We cannot use that, or should we? Anyways, but I wanted to make that clear. It's a different zoning district.
Okay, all right. We
But I
will.
think, you know, in my opinion, it's the denial is no benefit to anybody. It's just,
We
you know,
haven't.
it's an unnecessary hardship for me.
Okay, we haven't denied anything yet. We have to open it to the public and the board still has to deliberate. Okay, I just expressed my opinion. So if the board has no further comment, then I'm going to open the application to the public for comment if there is anybody that has something that they want to say. Is there anybody, Nancy?
I do not see anybody.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing. And the board will enter deliberations. And do we have any comments of the board or a motion? Denise, your hand's up again.
I want to make a comment that I don't know, the GIS map that I'm looking at is not the same as what's printed. So the building that's on the corner that you show as a 2-family, it's showing as a 1-family in the record. So a lot of it's difficult to kind of figure out what a multifamilies.
The information that I typed up on the map that's part of my staff report is straight from the assessor's database. I did not use the database that's on the town's website because that may have some errors or it may not be up to date. It's not a direct feed to the assessor's database that he updates on a very regular basis. So that's the database that I use, is the one that we have access to as staff.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as requested to convert the existing 4-family building into a 5-family building.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comment or discussion?
My only observation on this would be, granted, it's a small contribution. I see it as a small beneficial contribution. to the available housing stock in the village area, which is something, given the current state of the market, we need more of.
I see it. I personally don't think I think it's contrary to the master plan as far as the density. And I also think it's contrary to the zoning ordinance itself. And it's not consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. That's my opinion. Jason?
You're muted.
So actually, that was the question that I had, Gail, was I guess I'm interested in seeing where that information is, because I'm looking at the new master plan and I kind of don't see it. It almost seems a little bit contradictory to what we're trying to do. So, I mean, it looks like I agree with Len. It looks like we should be increasing the housing stock and the versatility of stock available. So I guess I'm curious as to why you're saying that.
Well, I don't have the master plan on me, unfortunately, but the master plan does address the density of the various zones. And this one I think just grossly violates it. I think it just goes above. I don't think it's consistent with the master plan, and I don't think it's consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. And the ordinance also talks about the density, and this is significantly over, and it's already a non-conforming lot that they're trying to make more non-conforming. Denise?
I have not received a copy of the new master plan. I know it was approved and it wasn't in print last time we spoke. I'm not comfortable voting till I see and review that, because I know that housing is in short supply in the state of New Hampshire, and I'd like to see what the master plan states before I vote on this.
Okay, Alan?
I can find nowhere in the master plan where it talks about density.
Okay.
And I would like someone to show it to me in black and white.
Well, even master plan aside, because I don't have one handy. It's still contrary to the zoning ordinance, the density within the zoning ordinance. That's just my opinion. You guys can vote against me. You don't have to agree with me. You're fine. Jason?
So to answer Alan's question, I'm looking at page 17 of the new master plan, and one of them says explore developing a minimum density ordinance to promote efficient land use to ensure that cluster developments can be created to preserve open space where appropriate and prevent single-family housing from spreading out into open areas. That was one of the pieces of it, but it does address density a few times in here.
And that means multifamily.
I agree with you, Alan.
It doesn't necessarily mean multifamily, but I'm not going to keep arguing the point.
No.
Let's have it. Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to add about the little bit about master plans that trying to take my hand down now, that they're not a regulatory document. They're designed as a vision of where the town wants to go, with input from many parties, and it serves as a baseline or a guidebook for what zoning amendments should be presented to the planning board, and then if it makes it through that process, then to the voters. So the zoning ordinance would be the regulatory extent of the desires of the master plan. So it's not meant to be used as a regulatory document. The zoning ordinance and the development regulations are used for that purpose.
Okay. Alan? Your hand is up. Do you have more comment?
You don't want to hear them.
Okay. Denise?
I'm all set to vote.
Okay, then we will take a vote on the matter. Wait a minute, let me find my papers, please. Okay, Ellen made the motion, Len made the second. Len? We'll vote.
Yes,
And Denise?
No.
And Alan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And I say no. So the vote is 3-2, and the motion carries. Okay, we're set. And we are on to our next application with Todd and Antonia Nelson, owners applicant, seeking a variance and a special exception to construct a 24-foot by 28-foot detached garage with an accessory dwelling unit that would be located on the second floor. This concerns section 5.2 and 5.2.2 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 123 Walnut Hill Road, map 3, lot 59-8, zoned agricultural. And I will entertain a motion for regional impact.
I motion there's no regional impact.
second,
Thank you. And roll call vote, Len,
yes,
Alan,
I think.
Al,
He left.
Alan, you there? He's gone dark. Okay, Jason,
Yes.
I say yes. Alan, are you there? Okay, so we will.
I say yes.
Okay. So we will leave Alan out of this vote for this time. And we have 4-0 and no regional impact. And do we have the applicants present?
Yes, we're here.
Hi. Do you want to tell us about your application, please?
Yes, it's a detached garage with an ADU above to accommodate our adult autistic son. Because he is a high functioning autistic person, he does not qualify for state assistance or governmental assistance, but he has a very hard time, keeping a job because of his disability. And he has a very hard time getting along with others. And so it would be quite a hardship for all of us for him to try to live in an apartment, by himself in an area where he couldn't be supervised. He currently rents a room from another son of ours who has a condo, but that son is getting married now, and so obviously he needs his own space. So what we're trying to do is to build, this garage with the apartment upstairs so we can try to ease him. I mean, he's in his 30s, but, not acting like an adult in their 30s, try to ease him into a more independent life while still being able to supervise him. And we hope that when we're, when we want to downsize, that we could sell the house to my other son, and then, he could continue living in that accessory unit. He's very difficult to live with, so no one wants him to live in the house with them because he honestly is a nightmare to live with. And so we thought that this would be the best for everybody involved.
Okay. So I see in the staff review, Nancy, this application is basically it's not necessarily based on the variance criteria, but on RSA 674-33.
That's correct. That allows under these types of circumstances that the board does not have to find that a hardship exists.
Okay. But it also requires that if the property is transferred, that the permit is no longer valid.
That's an option that the board has.
Okay. Okay, so we would want to consider that as well. Okay, so I guess for the applicants, we don't really necessarily, do you want to review your variance criteria? We don't really need to if we're basing it on the RSA. So we don't need to put that into the record unless you have a preference to do that.
I'm not sure how that would be of a benefit.
Okay. Does the board have any comments? Denise? You're muted.
You're muted.
Hello. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing that to our attention, the
You're welcome.
RSA 674. My concern, it's only one, that it is a detached dwelling, and I have no issues with it, but I would want to make a note that if for whatever reason he were to move out, the kitchen goes, so that it cannot become a rented ADU that's detached from the house. That would be the only comment I would make.
That could be a condition of approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could echo what Denise has said, I know that we've approved a couple of detached ADUs in the past, and I think without making it, Mrs. Nelson mentioned about possibly selling it to another family member. And if the time comes, I would only say that we make the provision that if the property is sold to someone outside the family, then the variance would lapse, or the, special exception, it would lapse once it leaves the family title, because if you're presuming to set this up so that another family member could take over ownership in future years, I would be comfortable with that.
Okay, Jason?
So I was actually I had two questions. So the first one is other than it being a separate building, it meets all the other setback requirements and everything, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I thought so. I thought I read it somewhere, but I can't find anything anymore. So then the other comment was I kind of think a compromise between what Denise said and what Len said kind of makes sense, which is if it's sold to somebody outside of the family title, then the kitchen must be removed. I think that makes perfect sense.
I would also add that if the son no longer lives there,
Yeah.
because if he moved out and the other family members still live there, I wouldn't want it to still be an ADU.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I noticed is that there's also a variance request and a special exception request. And both of those correspond with the RSA, Nancy?
The special exception request is there because every accessory dwelling unit requires a request for a special exception. The RSA only addresses the variances and the hardship criteria specifically. But because we require a special exception for accessory dwelling units, I think the two of them would go hand in hand. And I think because of the statutory allowance, it seems to be reasonable to tie that condition that everyone was discussing to both this special exception and the variance, because they go hand in hand. The variance is simply to allow for the accessory dwelling unit to be detached, and then there's criteria that have to be met with the special exception request as far as, the size of the ADU, and there are certain others that you can't possibly meet because it would be a detached structure, but you still need to look at other criteria that could be met.
Okay. Jason, your hand is up.
No, it's not.
Alan?
Are we granting two requests here? A variance and a special exception this evening?
If we choose
Correct.
to.
We have to do both of them, okay? Separate motions,
Yes.
okay? I'm good.
Okay, the board has no more questions. Jason, your hand's up again.
Yeah, I fibbed. It's back up now. Nancy, so I thought I had remembered seeing that in the new rules after the town meeting that the variances for ADUs aren't necessarily required anymore. But it says here the maximum allowable height is 17 feet. It looks like, according to the plan, they're at 24. Is that true?
That's something
The
that,
applicant can-
yeah, that's something that can be addressed at the building permit application. Or if, let me try to answer your first question.
Sure.
There was some zoning amendments, as you mentioned, that were passed having to do with accessory dwelling units. And one of them is that used to be that the door, the exterior door leading to the accessory dwelling unit was not allowed to face the front. And that was removed. And I believe everything else remains the same. What criteria is it specifically that you're asking about, Jason?
So, I just want to make sure that if they, they go to build it and then realize that they wouldn't have needed a variance for the 17 feet in 5.1.
They would have to come back. If they get told that they exceed the dimensions that are allowed, they'd have to come back.
Okay.
And I would think, though, that most of these are either the purview of the planning board or the building permit process, that, those are the details that are in their ballpark.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I know that this can be a painful process sometimes, so I'm just making sure that I understand.
Okay. Alan, your hand is up.
Yes, when you talk about the height that you're referring to is to the ridge. The height, according to the zoning ordinance, is halfway up the roof. It's not to the ridge, according to the building code. The height of a building is the mean height of the roof, not to the ridge.
Jason, the section that you're referring to is specifically for accessory buildings, which this would be considered an accessory building because it's detached from the house. And so if so in that first paragraph in the zoning ordinance 5.1, it specifically addresses that they shall not exceed a footprint of 600 square feet. And if they don't exceed 600 square feet, then the setback is reduced to a 10-foot side, 10-foot rear, and it still has to meet the front yard setback. So the way I read that is if the accessory building that does not exceed 600 square feet is located between the underlying setback for that zoning district, which we'll see, just say for argument's sake, it's 25 feet. And then, so between that setback and then the 10-foot setback that's allowed for accessory buildings that are 600 square feet or less, the way I read that paragraph is that the height going to the peak of the roof cannot exceed 17 feet. But I would suggest that I mean, there's been enough discussion in the record to reflect this question. So I'd say if the board sees fit to grant the variance and the special exception, then certainly a reasonable condition would be that either the applicants work with either the contractor or the building department to reduce the height to comply, or that they can return to the zoning board if they wish to move forward with the 17 feet or whatever the height is to the peak.
Jason, hand is up.
It's because I keep forgetting to put it down.
Okay.
And
Denise?
the mute button is becoming a pain too now.
I think it might be something that we need to visit. Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, but 17 feet for an accessory dwelling and to have an apartment on top? You better be sure to deck your head.
A flat roof.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, that would look good in the neighborhood.
Yeah. The point is, they have a 2-story house with a pitched roof on it, which is taller than what they're proposing to do.
Right.
Exactly. It's a weird statement in the ordinance.
I would consider whatever motion we make includes a statement that as shown on attached plans with the application. Period. I have no problem with 24 floor.
Bless you.
My house is taller than that. I live in a ranch.
If it was too short, it wouldn't conform with the house. It wouldn't be as attractive. I mean, their lot, their house, their property is beautiful. And if they make it this short, stubby little thing compared to their house, it's really going to stand out.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be a hard time when we grant this, that they're going to end, assuming that we grant this, that they have to come back.
Yeah.
That was the pain that I was alluding to.
Mrs. Nelson?
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate it. We don't want to have to come back either. We specifically picked a plan that would mimic the house, so it will be aesthetically pleasing, and putting a squat little house in, it would look ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this would be much more aesthetically pleasing. Plus, with the garage underneath, there's no way we could build this with it being 17 feet, so it would not work.
Okay.
I mean, the dormers are going to mimic the house, everything. It's the same siding, shutters. We really like things to look nice, and so we really specifically picked a unit that wasn't too large and that would mimic the house.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions or comments?
Just a comment that based on where the house is located, I don't believe they get a lot of traffic in their neighborhood.
Just turkeys.
Yeah, we have a lot of turkeys.
I saw some when I drove by the other day. They were in the yard. Okay, I'm going to open the hearing to the public. Is there anybody online, Nancy?
No, there's not.
Okay, then I'm going to close the hearing to the public and the board can deliberate, or I'll entertain a motion.
What should we do first, Gail? Special exception or the variance? I requested separate motions.
I don't particularly care.
All right, and I'll move to grant the special exception as requested.
Okay, do we have a second? Denise, your hand is up. Are you seconding, or Jason?
Yeah, I just want to make sure the special exception is not where we're gonna add our note at the end.
That's where we are going to add a note about
Yes,
the occupancy.
that's, okay. So I'd
That
like
note-
to amend your motion to add that we would like to document that as long as that particular person is in continuing need to use the premises.
Page 8, Denise, in the file, has a statement in bold print at the top above the photo of the house.
Just read it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So should we specify that the kitchen is to be
Oh,
removed
thank you.
once that
Yes.
individual
If
stops
the,
using the unit?
if the son no longer lives there, the kitchen is removed, basically.
And also if property is sold to a non-family member.
Yeah,
Right.
and I get that, but it could be sold to a family member and that son still lives there.
Right.
And if he gets
Oh,
accustomed to
yeah.
that living, and living there, he may be very happy to live there, even though somebody else lives in the house. I could be wrong. I don't want to limit that.
All right,
Okay.
that all sounds reasonable.
Okay, so it's the special exception as requested with the condition that it's only valid as long as the son is actually living in that unit. And if he should move, then the kitchen is to be removed.
Well,
Well,
I'm agreeable to that.
You're muted.
I made it. Who seconded?
Alan's muted. He was talking.
Gail,
I heard him.
Gail?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I would like to suggest that same condition be added to the variance request, since there's a closer tie with request for variance than there is for a special exception, but the reason for the variance request is for, a detached accessory dwelling unit. So I think belt and suspenders, it might be a good idea to add that same condition to both the special exception and the variance.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Well, we haven't gotten to the variance yet. So do we have a second on the motion for the special exception? Denise?
I second.
All right, we're going to do a roll call vote. Len?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Alan? You're muted, Alan. I couldn't hear your yes.
God bless these things. Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay, so the special exception is approved, 5-0. And we have a motion regarding the variance.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the variance as requested with the same conditions as the special exception, that it only persists as long as the Nelson's son is living in the property.
Okay. And do we have a second? Jason, are you seconding the motion with that shake of your head? You're muted.
Yes, I will second that.
Gail?
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Question.
Sure.
I might have been drifting off, but did Mr. and Mrs. Nelson go through each of the criteria for the variance and for the special exception?
You know what? We didn't for the special exception. We didn't for the variance either, because I had made the assumption that it wasn't necessary since we're going with the RSA instead of
Well,
the
that's
variance.
only for the hardship criterion,
I see. Okay.
not for the whole variance request.
All right. So we have to back up a minute and get that criteria on the record. Mr. and Mrs. Nelson, do you want to read it into the record? Your variance, so exception criteria? Public interest, spirit of the ordinance, substantial.
Okay. So granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the ADU to be designed matches the exterior of the existing residence and is integrated into a detached garage to fit into the neighborhood. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because this will allow for support and supervision of adult disabled son while allowing for some level of independence. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because autistic spectrum disorder makes it difficult for our son to get along with neighbors, to maintain and afford an independent residence. It also makes it difficult for him to live in the primary residence with his parents. The values of surrounding properties will not be diminished because it was designed to match our existing dwelling style and to be aesthetically pleasing without encroaching upon the neighbors.
All right.
And so the specific site is an appropriate location for such use, being consistent with the town's current master plan because there is enough land to set back the unit from the road and be set apart from the neighbors with trees left in between. The size or frequency of the use will not significantly alter the character of the neighborhood because only one person will be living in the apartment. The use will not create a nuisance or hazard to vehicles or pedestrians in a manner that cannot be ameliorated because only one person will be living in the apartment and it's set back from the road with garage space. The proposed location is of sufficient size to allow for adequate and appropriate facilities for the proper operation of the use because a larger unit would just be more difficult for our son to maintain. The proposed unit is of sufficient size to allow for appropriate buffers of this use to adjacent properties because it remains forested on 3 sides of the unit. We've discussed it with our closest neighbor who has no objection.
Okay, thank you. We've got that on the record. We have the motion. We have the second. Are we ready to vote?
No.
Okay.
Are
Len?
we re-voting on the exception or
No.
just on the variance?
This is the variance. I'm sorry. So we're ready to vote on the variance. Be approved as requested with the condition that if the son leaves the premises, no longer lives there, that the kitchen would be removed. So are we ready to vote? Hey, Len?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And I say yes as well. Then you have your special exception and your variance, Mr. and Mrs. Nelson.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
you folks for your patience tonight
Yes.
with all the technical problems.
We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
that.
you very much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, our next application is Sharon DeRocher. Applicant owner seeks a variance to construct a 6-foot by 32-foot front porch, approximately 5.6 feet from the front property boundary, whereas 25 feet is required. This concerns section 4.3 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 16 St. Anselm's Drive, map 13, lot 31, zoned residential 2. Do I have a motion regarding regional impact?
You're muted, Denise.
I'm sorry. I motion there's no regional impact.
Okay, do we have a second? All right. And roll call vote. Len?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And I say yes as well, 5-0, motion carries. Just to backtrack one more little bit, I know I told Jason off of the phone, but just to make sure that it is on the record, he is a voting alternate tonight because Sam Parker is absent tonight. So I just want to make sure that is on the record. And if do we have Sharon DeRocher here to present?
Yes.
Yeah, she's on Teams.
She's on Teams. Okay, I just
I'm
don't.
here.
Okay, great. You want to tell us about your application and what you want to do?
Yeah, so I would like to just construct a front porch on my home. It will not obstruct any view of any of the abutters because there will not be a roof on it. It's just going to be like a deck with railings. It will not go further out from the stairs that are already there. We're going to add to each side of the steps to go on the length of the house, of the front of the house.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? Jason?
So according to this, it looks like it's a 6 foot porch / deck, correct?
Approximately correct.
So I'm trying to figure out how that doesn't extend past or to the end of where the stairs currently are.
So we're going to add on either side of the stairs instead of removing the stairs. And then we're going to build out to the corner of the house on each side. So to the right of the stairs and to the left of the stairs.
Okay, I think the question was, the way I understood it, how far out do your stairs go?
Oh, okay. They are about 7 3/4 feet wide. That's from the house to the bottom stair.
From the house to the bottom stair?
Correct.
There's wide or length?
It would be the length of it, like how many steps going down.
They stick out 7 3/4 feet.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So I'm still curious as are you going to have a new exit onto the deck or?
No, we're going to use the same stairs that are there. And we're just going to add the railings. We're going to fix the railings so you would be able to go onto the deck that way. Kind of open the railing and then add the railing to the side.
So you're going to use your current landing
Exactly.
to access the deck on each side.
I see.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay. Does the board have any further questions? Jason, your hand is up.
Oh,
Denise?
just
I'd like
cut it off.
to hear her read her application in, because I'm curious of what her hardship is.
Okay, the variance criteria,
Yes.
you have your application in front of you?
So I don't, because I gave that to Nancy when I was there. But I can, just off the top of my head,
I can help you review it if you'd like.
I think the variance pretty much is because it's not 25, the distance isn't 25 feet from the road. So that's
Yeah.
why I would need the variance. It will not obstruct any view from the street or any of the abutters that are on the side of me.
Okay. Now, how is it not contrary to the public interest? Your paperwork says the setback isn't 30 feet from the sidewalk.
Correct.
Can you explain that?
I'm not really sure about measurements. I'm not good with all of that because I'm not the one that's doing it. So I'm not really sure.
Okay. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because it will not obstruct my abutter's view.
Right.
Okay. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would add beautiful outside living space.
Yes, it would definitely add the outside living space, and that's what I would use it for. But it also, I feel, would improve the appearance of the house.
Okay. And values of surrounding properties would not be diminished because it would add property value. That's what you just said.
Yeah.
And regarding hardship, Alan, you have a question?
No, not
Okay.
anymore.
Okay. Regarding a hardship, you said that owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary unnecessary hardship because no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because it doesn't block the view from,
Maybe the street view?
maybe, I can't read your writing, in other properties. And the proposed use is a reasonable one because it would improve the appearance of the property.
Correct.
Okay. And I also want to add that when I spoke with Sandra Parker earlier this evening, when she told me she wasn't going to be here tonight, she did say she's an abutter and would otherwise have to recuse herself, but she did want me to pass on that she doesn't have a problem with it as an abutter. Okay, so does the board have any questions or comments? Denise?
I have a question on why a deck can't be placed another spot in this house which wouldn't encroach in the setback by so much.
Well, it's basically for the front entrance because my other entrance is on the driveway. It's a driveway entrance. So those are my two entrances into my home. So to have a porch out on the front, I would be able to walk out and sit on the porch.
Okay.
So to have a porch on my other entrance, it would be in my driveway.
Denise? No more questions? Anybody else? Len?
Not at this time.
Alan?
Just that it's close to the street.
Yeah, that was my concern.
And it's not going to be any closer than what my stairs already are.
Excuse me. It's close to the street, and the adjacent house to the east has looks like a whole paved driveway in the front across your entire site, but the house next to that, I think, is closer to the street than this particular house that we're talking about. How high is this porch? Is it just going to have a porch with a railing, or is it going to be close to the ground where there's no no railing on the porch?
No, we're going to put the railings around the porch. And it's going to be the height of the stairs, the very top step.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Denise, your hand is up.
No, sorry.
Okay. Anybody else? No comments?
No.
All right, then we'll open the hearing to the public. Is there anybody online, Nancy?
No, there's not.
Okay, so the public hearing is closed and the board's going to, is there anything else you have to add to your comments, Mrs. DeRocher?
No. Thank
Okay.
Gail,
Uh-huh.
sorry, I had a little bit of lag there, so my hand did go up. So I just wanted, Alan, are you saying the house to the other side of that one with the wall is closer?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I guess my only comment is that by putting that porch there, though, it now that new house, or the new structure becomes substantially closer to the street than anything else in that area.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's all my comment, Gail.
Okay. All right, so the public hearing is closed and the board can deliberate. Do we have discussion or a motion?
Well, just to clarify that I'm understanding, Gail, as I listen to the applicant, the front edge of the proposed deck will not extend any further forward from the front of the house than the bottom step of the
Correct.
existing stairs.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah. It won't go any further.
Okay. But no further still brings it 6 feet from leaves only a buffer of 6 feet. No, 5.6 feet from the front property boundary, where 25 is required.
It would be, I thought it would be about 7 feet. 7.5 feet. I thought, my house sets at an angle.
Okay, well, the paperwork that we got says 5.6 feet.
Okay.
Okay. The public hearing is closed now, and the board is going to deliberate. I, for one, have a concern with it being so close to the road.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I second.
Okay, we have the motion, and we'll do a vote. Len?
No,
Okay. And Denise?
Deny.
Okay. Alan?
Deny.
Jason?
Yes, deny.
And I also say deny, so the vote is 4-1. The motion, the application is denied.
The motion was to, was to deny the
Motion
application.
was to deny the application, and the vote was 4-1. Is that correct, Len?
yep,
Okay. So the application, your application is denied, Mrs. DeRosa.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to our next application with the Smith Family Trust. Heather Smith, trustee, applicant, and Joseph Hoffer Jr., owner, are seeking a variance to build a single-family home on a non-conforming lot, 8 feet from each side property boundary, whereas 15 feet is required. This concerns section 4.3, table of dimensional regulations of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 135 Moose Club Park Road, map 19, lot 45, zoned residential 2. And do we have a motion for regional impact?
I'll motion
I'll
there's no
I'll make a
regional.
motion there's no regional impact.
I second.
All right, and roll call vote. Len?
yes,
Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And I say yes as well. Motion carries. And do we have the applicants on the meeting with us?
Yes, Heather Smith is on Teams.
Okay. Welcome, Heather. Do you want to tell us about your application, please?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for continuing tonight. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for being there with us.
Yes, absolutely. Similarly to the Nelsons, I have an adult son, and he is actually getting ready to graduate from college in just a few weeks. My husband and I are very proud of him. He is a very hardworking young man who works full-time already. And we would like to facilitate sort of his start in life. And so we are looking to build a small home that our son can rent from us, and we will remain the owner of that home until the time that he's able to build up some credit and kind of establish himself in his career. And then the plan is for him to seek out his own mortgage for the home and become the owner of the home and pay us back for the home that we would like to build.
Okay.
Um,
Can you tell us a little bit about the lot and the building size?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a very interesting lot. We had been looking for a lot that would work for what we would like to do for quite some time. We did come across this lot and we really like the neighborhood. It's really a cute and unique portion of Goffstown that I love. interestingly, there had been a home on the lot previously, and Joseph Hoffler is the current owner of the lot, and we are under agreement with him to purchase the lot from him. The agreement is contingent on receiving a variance to build. The lot itself is extremely narrow, and as are most of the lots in the neighborhood, and therefore I've actually designed a house with this particular lot in mind that would hopefully fit as much as possible all of the constraints of the setbacks and that sort of thing. The only one that I found very difficult to be able to design a house that would work is the side setbacks, due to the fact that the lot is already very narrow. But I'm hoping that I was able to get a good amount of space on either side, and I'm asking that the board approve a variance to allow us to build within 8 feet of the 2 side setbacks where 15 feet is required. We are able to meet the front and the rear setback for the lot without a problem. It's just those side setbacks that are tricky due to the narrow nature of the lot.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions? Alan?
I do, because I think building that close to the lot lines creates a fire hazard, according to the fire department and the building code.
I have actually read the previous minutes for the prior owner's attempt to rebuild a house that he had owned on the same property. And I believe it was stated previously that it would need the walls to be fire rated if it was less than 4 feet from the property line. And I'm looking for 8 feet on either side. So I'm not sure that we would need to do that. I could be wrong.
Anybody else? Comments or questions?
I would like to say that if we are granted the variance, I am happy to work with any of the building codes that are in existence to make sure that any house we put on that lot will meet all the building codes and requirements for this zone.
Okay. Anybody else have comments? Denise?
It is a lot, whether it's conforming or not, it is a lot. She has the right to build a structure on it. Looking at the design, I think she is being as conservative as she can be. The only thing I questioned, it looked like there's a kitchen down at the basement, which they wouldn't allow, but that's not really has anything to do with us.
I think that might just be, it should just be a bathroom that's down there and the laundry. There's
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
no way to fit the laundry.
So I don't have a problem with that. I just think that it is a lot, and that's hardship that she has to, infringe on our setbacks to build a structure. I don't think she's building anything larger than she needs.
Just one question on the fire rating. Is any more demo going to be planned before? I'm puzzled by whatever that wooden structure is at the top of the retaining wall to the rear. Is that a remnant of the previous building, or?
Yes, sir, it is. My plan, I have actually walked a lot with our builder that I would like to work with to build this house. And a surveyor has looked at it, and the plan is to remove all remaining structure from the prior home that was there. It was sort of partially, the home had been there and it was kind of partially demoed. And our plan is to remove all the rest of the remnants of that prior structure.
Including the concrete retaining stuff at the bottom as well?
Correct. We will actually be pouring a new concrete retaining wall in the general same area. I think that the prior concrete retaining wall was not square and plumb and all of those things. And so it's best that it is taken down. But we will be building a new concrete retaining wall in almost the same location.
Thank you.
Denise, you still got questions? Your hand is up. Alan, do you have questions?
Oh, I have a couple. I'm hanging in there.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just as a note, the one side has a deck over the garage, so that living area is on the second floor. This is just an explanation, and that they have a stairs going to the ground as they're going down the side of the house, and that would increase the setback from 8 to probably 12 feet to the building. And I'd be okay with that.
That's correct. The only reason that it shows 8 foot on that one side is because we needed to design a stair to access the deck. If the stair wasn't there, we would actually be 12 feet away from the property line. But, you know, even the stair wasn't ideal, but I was trying to squeeze as much space on that side setback as possible.
Agreed. Okay. Hopefully your neighbor will take down that garage.
You know, I plan to make friends with my neighbors.
Okay, anybody else?
I have just a question that I asked. Has the owner actually, the proposer, actually had the property surveyed to make sure that everything is not on their property? The abutter's garage is not on her property.
So I've looked at the prior survey that existed, that the prior owner has done. And we also had a surveyor that came out to do a sketch for us. It appears that the garage is on the line, but it does not appear that the garage encroaches on our lot.
Okay.
Anything else, Alan?
Oh, that's finally good to see somebody's done their homework.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
For him, it certainly is.
Thank you very much.
Denise, be nice.
That was me. Denise was nice. Okay, if we have no further discussion with the board, do we have anybody on the line for public comment, Nancy?
No, there is no one.
Okay, so I will close the public comment session and the board can enter discussion or deliberations. Oh, wait a minute. No, we can't. Not yet. I take that back. Can you read your answers to the variance requests into the record first, please? Or you can summarize them if you'd like.
Sure. 1 through 5, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. Number 1, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public because this lot is located in a neighborhood with many other non-conforming lots with existing houses that do not comply with setback requirements and are grandfathered. I can read more if you'd like. It was just talking about the fact that also the home that I'd like to build is in approximately the same size as some of the surrounding homes, and so that it's not outside of what is already in the neighborhood. Number 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the conformity of the existing homes and properties will be preserved. The privacy of the abutters will be maintained, and the proposed new home will not encroach upon or diminish the value of the surrounding properties. Number 3, granting the variance would do substantial justice because the lot is currently just vacant and is somewhat dangerous, in my opinion. And so this would be taking care of that and placing a new home on that spot. Number 4, the values of the surrounding properties will not be diminished because I believe the current vacant lot is already diminishing the value of the properties, and by putting a new home there, I'm hoping it will increase the value of the area. And for number 5, talking about a hardship, it's kind of what Denise said earlier, where the lot does exist and there had been a home on it previously, and it was allocated as a lot prior to the ordinance being put into place. So in order to use the lot, we need to ask for some relief from the board.
Okay. Thank you. And now we can open the public hearing and then close it because there's still nobody there, right, Nancy?
Correct.
Okay, and do we have a motion?
I'll motion.
Or discussion? Denise?
I'll motion to, let's get this right here. Grant a variance to build a single-family home on a non-conforming lot, 8 feet from each side property boundary as shown this evening.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second,
Alan?
give it to Alan.
Okay, and roll call vote. Len?
Yes,
Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And Gail says yes as well, 5-0 to 0. You have your variance.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Yes. Okay, and our next application and our last application, well, sort of our last
That's right.
application before correspondence. Eversource Energy easement holder is seeking a special exception to replace 7 utility poles along the C196 and J114 transmission lines and the 322 distribution line in proximity to the existing poles approximately 5 to 10 feet higher than the existing structures due to updated National Electric Safety Code requirements. The site crosses 5 public roads, including Laurel Street, Elm Street, Goffstown Back Road, Blackbrook Road, Portage Road, and 2 private roads, Allard Park Road and Surratt Road, and 1 Class 6 road, Shanty Road. Utility poles are located at Laurel Street, map 15, lot 86, Shanty Road, map 9, lot 43-8, Blackbrook Road, map 9, lot 37, Elm Street, map 5, lot 25, Goffstown Back Road, map 6, lot 15-2, and Allard Park Road, 6, lot 10. This concerns section 3.11, table of principal uses of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The properties are zoned either agricultural, residential 1, or residential 2, and I will entertain a motion for regional impact.
I motion there's no regional impact.
And we have a second?
second,
Thank you. Roll call vote. Len?
yes,
Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And Gail says yes, that motion carries. And do we have somebody here from Eversource?
We do.
We do, and you are,
So I am Connor Madison from GZA on behalf of Eversource, and I'm here with a team of Eversource.
okay,
We have Kelly Merritt of Community Relations, we have Elise Ward of Public Services, and then Ashley Ruprecht of Permitting. So
Ashley, what's her last name?
I can try to pronounce it again. It's Ruprecht. So
What- how about- Yes, spell it, please.
RUPRECHT.
Yeah,
Apologies, Ashley, for butchering that name.
Okay,
You guys, great.
the only thing that I ask is if in the conversation that each of you identify who's speaking, if it's going to be somebody other than you, Connor.
Sounds good. I think it'll mainly be me for this introduction part. So,
Okay.
thank you for having us. I know it's been a little frustrating, but we're all getting through it. So we are here for the special exception permit for an upcoming maintenance project on the existing C196, J114 transmission lines, and then also the 322 distribution lines. We have already submitted and received and approved a separate wetlands permit through NHDES. It's a statutory permit by notification. We do qualify under the statutory permit by notification because it is a minimal impact project. It'll just have temporary impacts as far as our matting goes. So we have that approved and it in hand. As far as the project is, I'll try to be brief about this, but it is the replacement of 7 utility poles. We are replacing old wooden structures with new steel structures. We chose these 7. It wasn't out of random. They are the 7 in very poor condition. So it's more of a triage effort. And we'll be replacing them with steel poles about 5 to 10 feet away from the existing wooden pole. And as I said, also in my application, we will be raising it. We'll be raising it about 5 to 15 feet just for national electricity standards these days. These pole replacements, you listed the roads already, so there's no need to, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There will be 7 rows that we'll be accessing off of. And then we are also not expanding the right of way at all. We're not cutting any trees and we're not adding any new lines. We are just going in, replacing those 7 wooden structures with steel and then getting out. As far as construction goes, we will be following the DES March 2019 BMP manual for utility maintenance projects. What that means is that we will have erosion controls all throughout the site, near wetlands and entering wetlands. We like to use silt sock and silt fence. Silt fence is more for those steeper slopes and silt sock for the wetland entrances near timber matting. We like to use that because straw wattle has a plastic welding that sometimes turtles and snakes get stuck into, so silt sock doesn't allow that. As far as timber matting goes and crossing wetlands, we will be bringing in timber matting. They're 4x8 timber mats. They come cleaned. We power wash and sweep them in a yard so we don't have any invasive species seeds getting put in the wetland. We'll put that down to get the equipment across, and we will have an Eversource representative on site to make sure that everyone's adhering to those BMPs and to make sure contractors are following the plan. Like I said, we have those SBNs in hand, so we have already coordinated with the Natural Heritage Bureau and New Hampshire Fish and Game for their recommendations and BMPs for rare, threatened, or endangered species. And the final thing that I have to say is just the schedule. It is a little tricky since these are 3 separate lines that we're submitting for this application. We have the C196, which is, we're proposing 2 structure locations, and that schedule is for mid-May. The J114 is another transmission line. We have 3 structures that we're proposing, and that's a schedule of late October. And then the 322 distribution lines, we have 2 structures, and those are both off Laurel Drive. They are in very poor shape, so that'll be in as soon as possible kind of venture, so early mid-May as well. I can also run through the plans if you guys want me to share the screen, but other than that, I can answer any questions.
The biggest thing for me, well, one of my biggest things is that I need to get your responses to the special exception criteria on the record. And if you just want to summarize them, you don't have to read the whole thing because it might be rather lengthy, but just give a quick summary.
Okay, yeah, it is kind of lengthy, so I'll try my best to summarize it. So the first one, the specific site is an approximate location for such use being consistent with the town's current master plan. The project proposes to maintain the Eversource-owned transmission and distribution lines, which are located in existing and maintained right-of-ways. The proposed access to the replacements is being undertaken to ensure that the lines continue to function safely and reliably. The size or frequency of the use will not significantly alter the character of the neighborhood. The project proposes to maintain the transmission lines, which are located in existing and maintained right-of-ways. The structures will be replaced in their current alignment, and there's no expansion of the right-of-way or installation of new lines. Poles will be installed in proximity to the existing poles with just a moderate height difference for safety purposes. The use will not create a nuisance or hazard to vehicles or pedestrians in a manner that cannot be ameliorated. The impacts of the proposed project will not alter or create hazards to vehicles or pedestrians in a manner that cannot be restored. As previously stated, the project area is an existing and maintained right-of-way. The proposed location is of sufficient size to allow for adequate and appropriate facilities of proper operational use. The project proposes will be within an existing maintained right-of-way. The structure details are designed according to safety requirements to ensure both public safety and proper operational use. And finally, the proposed location is of sufficient size to allow for appropriate buffers of this use to adjacent properties. As previously stated, it is an existing and maintained right-of-way. The existing right-of-way is of sufficient size to allow for buffers to adjacent properties. The structures will be replaced in current alignment, and there's no encroachment onto adjacent properties for the replacements.
Thank you. Does the board care to see the plans that the applicant offered to put up? You're
I
muted.
have them all over my desk. I'm all set.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add to your presentation?
I think I am all set.
Okay. Does the board have any questions of the applicant? You're muted, Lynn, I think.
I didn't say anything, so.
Oh, I saw you moving.
No, it seems to be a very straightforward project for replacement and maintenance of utility equipment. I see no problems.
Yeah, I agree. Denise, you have any comments? Jason?
I'm all set.
I didn't have my hand up. I promise.
Do you have any comments?
No.
Okay, Alan? Alan has his hand up.
Not anymore.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to presume it's safe to open the public hearing. Do we have anybody on the line, Nancy?
I'll check to see if those two individuals are on the phone. They're not showing up on my computer screen anymore. Elise, are you still there? It appears that no one is on the phone any longer, so
Okay.
no one from the public.
Okay, public hearing is closed and the board can enter into deliberations. Do we have discussion or a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve. Hold on, I lost the wording I have to use now.
Okay, the special exception to replace.
Yes,
the
yes, as written.
Okay,
Second.
and Denise second, and we'll do a roll call vote. Len,
Yes,
Denise,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes,
Jason,
Yes.
Gail says yes, you have your special exception
See you
Thank you
next
so
year.
much.
with us tonight.
Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Okay, we have an issue of correspondence. An email. Let's see, wait a minute, where is it?
Should be two letters that
Yeah, two letters from an attorney, Jason Craven of Baroff and Craven, requesting the zoning board schedule a special meeting to consider granting a second request for an extension of time for the variance and special exception granted by the zoning board in September of 2017 for Hadley Falls development. And the ZBA granted the first extension in September 3rd, 2019, and the parcel is located at 15 Factory Street, map 34, lot 171.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
sorry to interrupt.
I know there's conversation, or there's been conversation.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I think earlier in the meeting and then by email to everyone that we received a legal opinion, and that requests for rehearings, not requests for rehearings, requests for time extensions do not require a public hearing, so abutters do not need to be notified. It only requires a meeting, so we place it on the agenda. And in this case, it seems fitting just the way our agenda is designed to put it under correspondence. So the applicants are aware that they will have the ability tonight to actually request the extension of time, not request a special meeting, and then the request for the extension would then be taken up at that special meeting. So they're actually going to make their request for an extension of time tonight.
Okay.
And they are online. They're sent the Teams invite to all of them. So if you have any questions, then someone will be prepared to speak on behalf.
Okay. Does the board want to entertain this tonight, or does the board want to schedule a special meeting?
I'd like to hear it tonight. There's no reason for a special meeting in my view.
Likewise.
Okay. All right. And who is speaking for the applicant?
Wait a minute.
Oh, Jason. We lost Alan.
We lost Ellen.
He's gonna accuse himself, isn't he? Through this?
He didn't.
Did he not have some involvement with the project? I believe he has recused himself.
He has
in the past, but he didn't say anything before he blinked off.
Yeah. Okay. And he's not trying to get back in, right, Nancy?
I wouldn't be able to tell. He's not in the lobby. That's the only way that I could tell, is if he's in the lobby waiting, and there isn't anyone in there.
Okay. Then we will go ahead, if the applicant still wants us to, because we don't have a full 5-member board, and he needs at least 3 members to vote to approve any motion. So
I see Attorney Blake is online, and I'm looking through to see if any of the other folks are there, but maybe he can chime in and say who's here on their behalf.
Attorney Blake, you want to join us?
He's muted at the moment. Attorney Blake, can you unmute yourself? Oh, there he goes.
Good.
Okay, he's unmuted.
Okay. Attorney Blake, do you want to join this meeting and tell us what you're looking for?
Attorney Blake, can you hear us? Let me go down the list and see who else is here.
I only see him and Daryl besides board members.
The individual I've been corresponding with is Attorney Jason Craven, and he received the invite, and it was my impression that he would be the one that would be carrying out the request this evening. But so far, and we have different attorneys here. Some attorneys are representing the current owner in the capacity of just granting this other body permission to make this request. So
yes, we did get that letter, I think, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, you received both letters.
Yeah,
oh, I have a incoming call. Hold on just 1 minute, please. Good evening, this is Nancy.
John Blake now has his hand raised. Okay.
Nancy, you're muted.
I have Attorney Baroff on the phone. He's been able to listen to the meeting, but for some reason, he's not showing up in the Microsoft Teams as a participant. So can everyone hear Attorney Baroff? Attorney Baroff, can you speak for a moment?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
Nancy, we also had Attorney Blake raise his hand. So
He did, okay.
Attorney
Okay.
Blake,
Great.
are you, Attorney Blake, are you with us? You might want, are you muted?
He's not muted, but his hand is raised.
Okay. But he's not talking. Do we have somebody that can represent?
Attorney Baroff, are you able to represent this and make the presentation for the request for the extension of time?
Yes.
Okay. Attorney Baroff can make that presentation for
Okay,
the request.
the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. I represent Century Management Holding, which entered into a purchase and sale on July 31st with Hadley Falls Development, the current owner of the property. We've been working diligently toward getting all the approvals with our engineer and obtaining the remaining approvals is what triggers the purchase and sale and the closing. We just worked through about half a dozen easements with the planning board and the water district. The site plan was actually signed last week and the easements were all approved as final. The issue we have is unless we get to substantial construction by October 20th of this year, the variances will sunset and we will not be able to make that date given where we are in the process. What we're asking for is an extension of this board's approvals, following which we will proceed immediately to closing and to the preparatory work for the construction, so the putting the drawings out and getting the bids and all that sort of thing. But I asked our project manager his most conservative estimate for when we get to substantial construction if we closed in a week, and it's beyond October 21st. So that was the reason for the request.
Okay, thank you. Board, do you have questions? Jason?
So just out of curiosity, when is the estimate for substantial completion?
For substantial completion.
Or, I'm sorry, substantial construction.
Thanks,
Denise.
The best estimate he gave me would be about, we'd be 30 weeks from closing to the beginning of construction, so to the breaking of ground. So that would be 32 weeks, say, from now. So I'd have to ask him exactly when something like footings would be poured, that sort of thing. But I assume we're talking something like 34, 36 weeks, something like that.
So somewhere in 2022, in other words.
Or late 2021, depending on weather. Right.
Jason, you got more questions?
I did, but it just went away. So I'll put my hand down.
Welcome to my world.
So what is the time frame you're looking for an extension? A 1 year?
That was it.
My understanding is a year is a typical request, so I guess that's why we requested a year. My client is extremely anxious to get in the ground. I don't know if any of you have met our project manager, Bob Simons. I don't know if he's been before this board, but he's champing at the bit. We want to get, once we get this extension, hopefully, that's the last thing we need to move to the closing process with the seller. And he's ready to put, to get the architectural drawings finalized and, you know, get the process underway so that he can get the contracts put out to bid and et cetera, get through that part of the process.
And the current approvals expire in September.
October 21st, I believe.
Okay. So
yeah, it's just not enough time.
No, that makes sense. I don't have my hand up, Gail.
Okay, but Denise does.
I do. I don't have a problem with granting an extension. This has gone through this board. They've gone through the planning board. They met all the criteria and I have no issue with granting. And construction is hard to start right now, and I understand that.
Yep, I agree. I don't mind doing this. In my opinion, it may be just more of a formality because my understanding is that the planning board has already signed off on the plan. They signed it last week. So therefore, the plan itself, the whole plan, including our zoning, our zoning board approvals, the variances, special exceptions, they go along, they no longer have the time frame that was from then. It goes along with the planning board signing off on the plan. So
is that how the zoning goes with the variance? That's good to know.
Well, with it having been signed off by the planning board, because it was everything was complete the way it was explained to me. So they signed off on the plan.
So the only piece that I would want to add is get. And I know we're looking at each one on its own merit, but I don't think I would like to go out a year. I think that 6 months beyond October would be reasonable, and we can entertain without prejudice them coming back. But we've had a lot of other things that, we get this approval and then something happens and they don't build. So then they come back and extend the time again and again and again. And I think that, you know, I understand construction industry. I get it. But at the same time, I think if we don't start to set some closer guidelines, sometimes the interest in getting things done quickly doesn't end up happening.
I have to disagree with you on that one. I think that a year is very reasonable, and because sometimes they ask for 2 years. But I think that the 1 year is reasonable. I would rather have them come back in a year than come back every 6 months. And it's more of an inconvenience and an expense for them as well.
So, Gail, and maybe it's just a timing thing, but 6 months past the end of October is April.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's what I was saying is 6 months past where they're currently set up to expire.
But I don't have, and I see your point, but I don't have a problem going with the 1 year after their expiration. Because sometimes things happen in this. We've seen it. We've seen applications that got continued time multiple times because there were issues that arose among the steps in the process. So I would rather give them the year to get things accomplished beyond the time that they have now, and then let them come back in a year rather than have to come back twice in a year.
And also, working through the winter and early spring is really not conducive to site work. And being in the construction industry, You have no idea how long some materials, and it's crazy material. It's underground, utilities, sometimes you're waiting 3 or 4 months. I mean, it's just, doesn't even make sense how long people are waiting for material. To give them 6 months, within April, they're gonna come back. And I wouldn't want to be starting a project and having to come back in April after making all those plans and being at the mercy of a new zoning board. So I think giving them a year is giving them time to get everything together, get everything organized for the winter, and be able to start. Maybe April, maybe May.
And I'd also add, I'd be much in support of a year. If you look at the size and the complexity of this project, particularly in something, as Gail pointed out, there's lots of little places to stub your toe, and a week's delay turns into a month's delay. I would support a year's extension myself.
And I guess if this was the first time, I'd be okay with that. But this goes back to 2017.
Oh, Jason, we've had.
I know we just had one that was 10 years, but I mean, I think that, I don't know. That's just my opinion, and you guys can disagree.
If I may add, though, with that particular project, the one that went on for 10 years was something I was running out of patience with. I think in this case, it's no advantage to any of the parties here to keep extending this project. It's something that has a great deal of potential benefit. And I can understand. I just think I would give them the year.
Okay. Attorney Barrow, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I think we're doing fine. I'm just letting you guys talk. I like the way this is going. I really don't. I'll answer any questions that I can, but it sounds like you all pretty much see where we are.
I want to make sure that you're aware that we don't have a full 5-member board right now. And you're required for a motion to pass, it has to be 3 people, at least 3 of us in favor of the vote, whatever the vote is made.
I understand that.
Okay. All right.
Thank
So
you.
Denise, your hand is up. Do you have something to
Oh,
say?
I don't know why it's up, but if you want to close the hearing, I can make a motion.
Hearing closed.
There
Well,
was no
it's really,
hearing.
it's
Wait.
There was no hearing.
There wasn't,
Before-
right?
No,
So
no,
we
I
still
think
need a
it
vote, though.
matters.
I
Wait, before-
motion.
Can
I
I ask
will-
a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Nancy, when does my term expire?
I don't have that information on me, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Why, you bailing on us already?
No, I want to make sure that I'm going to be here a year from now.
Better be.
You'll be back.
All right.
Denise,
Go
you may-
ahead, Denise.
I motion to extend their variance for 12 months as requested.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There was more than a variance request. It was also a special exception. Let
Right.
me call it up here. It was a very lengthy notice. So I'm not sure if you want to just refer to the approvals, the original approvals granted by the
Yes.
board. Well, let me just read it to you.
Please.
So back in, the original approval goes back to September 2017. And that was specifically September 27th, 2017. And so they had 2 years before the approvals ran out. So they returned to the zoning board at the September 3rd, 2019 meeting to request a 2-year extension, which was granted. And the way that read was to grant the time extension requests for the variances and special exception to build a 99-unit multifamily development consisting of 4 buildings, which includes the existing mill building on a non-conforming lot. And then there's, of course, reference, as we always do on our notices of decision, to the wording for the, the full wording for the application, which talks about, all the details.
So I take all those details and I approve to extend it from a year.
So you would be extending it to September 3rd, 2021. I mean,
Correct.
yes,
2022.
2022, that's right. Okay. And do we have a second?
Second,
And roll call vote. Len?
yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Don't sound so thrilled. Gail
I-
says you have your variance and special exception extensions.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Greatly
Attorney
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Have a good night.
Good luck as you go
Yeah,
forward.
you all have a good night too. Have a
too.
good night's sleep.
You too.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
before we close the meeting, I'd like to bring up a question. Considering all the technical difficulties that we had tonight,
And it's not the first.
and exactly, it's not the first time. I'm curious as to why we just don't use the team's call-in number that's available to us and then have everybody call into one platform.
I actually had that discussion with IT today, and one of the members of the IT staff said there currently isn't a way to have people call in using Teams, which is why we use this other platform, which is Conference Bridge First Light, something like that. And so it's, well, I won't say anything more.
I have a question. When are we going to be able to go back to meetings?
The select board is supposed to be addressing it at one of their upcoming meetings. When they set the mandate to have remote meetings for everybody, they set a date of January, not a date to necessarily resume, but to reconsider. So hopefully by June 1st, we might know. And, it might still just be a hybrid, or it might be all in person, don't really know.
Are they going to leave that decision to each board, or is it going to be a decree?
The select
Decree.
varies depending on who you talk to. They have differing opinions, so I don't know if it'll be a mandate or if it'll be, allowed, up to each board member.
Nancy, do you see somebody in the lobby?
No,
Just Dale Halen. He's for GTV.
I don't see anyone in the, oh, I do now.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So there is the call-in number that is here. It does function.
What number did you?
So according to the details of the ZBA meeting, it says dial in manually. Call 1-469-998-7470. It does have local numbers available, but it did function. So I think
What
we should
number?
check with IT.
Can you repeat that number again?
Sure. So this one is listed as 469-998-7470. And there are also local dial-in numbers that are listed on the team site. So if you, on our meeting here, if you click on the 3 dots on the top, there's
Yeah.
an option for show meeting details or meeting details.
Yes.
Still
You
looking for it.
Click on those 3 little dots, like where the microphone
did.
is, hands.
Yep.
You click on the 3 little dots and show
I
meeting
see.
details is the second one.
Meeting options?
Nope, second one down, show device settings.
Nope.
The second one is show meeting details.
Nope, I don't have that. Device
Okay.
settings, then meeting options, meeting notes, meeting info.
Meeting info. If you go to meeting info, there should be information there
Yeah, I
with the dial
see,
in.
dial in manually.
Yeah, so
So, but the only way you, so the only way that number would have to be advertised on the agenda, because the only way that you would know that number existed is if you had Teams.
Right. But as a
Up on
scheduled
your-
meeting, that number shows up in Teams when they build the schedule. So I'm not aware of a reason why this wouldn't be done. Now, IT may have a different reason, but I just proved that it worked. So I think that we should go and ask them, because then it's one platform and we don't have to deal with this.
I will. I'll ask IT tomorrow.
Hey, Jason. how
Yes,
about if
ma'am.
you Contact IT and explain it in IT language.
Oh, I could do that too.
And
It helps when you speak IT. I know I used to do it myself.
Sure, go
Yeah.
for it, Jason.
Yeah, no,
and
I'm
maybe
sorry.
somebody
I'll-
with power should find out why somebody was supposed to be on call and they were not. Because this could have been a disaster.
Could have been.
Yeah. Who's got power?
Not me.
I make the
Not me.
motion to adjourn.
Not
That's
me.
power. I make a motion to
not-
adjourn.
I will
Second.
second that. As before the clock and the little thing gets to 3 hours, thank you very much.
We did pretty good considering we lost an hour.
Yeah, well,
Excellent.
the meeting itself went 2 hours and
Yeah.
maybe a half if you count the introduction at the very beginning before we had to shut down. Okay,
Not bad.
we've got a
Thank-
motion. Let's have a roll call vote to adjourn. Lynn,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes, please.
Gail says yes. We are adjourned at 10:12.
Good night.